Having time to unwind and decompress becomes ever more important, especially post-periods of stress, such as COVID-19. It's easy to get caught up in life's spin cycle, constantly rushing from one appointment to another, juggling demands, and forgetting to pause to take stock of situations. It's only when we break this cycle do we realise how much in need of a break we really are. You don't need to travel overseas nor venture too far from home before realising that actually having some quality time to recharge and recuperate means that you can actually become a better you. Investing in yourself is not selfish. In fact, it's the opposite. It's selfless. The more you invest in you, this means the more you can give to others, whether that be time, money, or energy. If all you do is give, and subsequently have a prolonged period of energy deficit, i.e. giving out more than you receive, it is only a matter of time before the proverbial wheels fall off. Then, the effort to recover becomes exponentially greater, requiring more and more time to do so. It is a vicious cycle, if you let it. And it was whilst relaxing that I had this week's light bulb moment. I'm not ashamed to say that I'm a little bit embarrassed I didn't know this already, because after 41 years on the planet, it made me realise that I am still learning. We'd just returned from playing the Earth course at Jumeirah Golf Estates in East Dubai, when a very good friend of mine, Simon, and I ventured out for a bit of a wander. I wanted coffee. Simon wanted a walk. It was the perfect combination as the sun began to set, so off we trot, taking the lift down from the 33rd floor of the Address Beach Resort, pretty strange looking building with a gigantic hole in the middle of it, down towards JBR. The path by the sea was a hive of activity, tourists enjoying the sand and sun, locals conducting their daily business, and everyone else just kind of doing their thing, really. I'd seen a coffee house previously, Rogue, I believe it was called, opposite the Cheesecake Factory, who doesn't love cheesecake, and was keen to try the local coffee brews. As we wandered, the topics of conversation floated between how work is and dealing with life. I've always enjoyed having an in-depth discussion, keen to challenge my own thoughts and assumptions, as well as learn about topics I'm not overly familiar with. It was shortly after ordering 2 double espresso macchiatos that we stumbled upon the topic of life lessons. One that's always stuck with me is the front page of the Daily Mail test. This was taught to me as an impressionable young professional whilst training as an accountant with Ernst & Young in London. The story had come up in conversation with Simon previously, and whilst reminiscing, he was kind enough to say that he had passed on these words of wisdom, flattery will get you everywhere, young man, to his children. In explaining how this had arisen, Simon dropped an absolute knowledge bombshell. To say that I didn't see it coming was a complete understatement. It took me by complete surprise. And I was lost for words, which, to be quite honest, doesn't really happen very often. Letting it just hang in the air, I digested what had just been said, quickly coming to the conclusion, why did I not know this already? The simple answer is, I hadn't needed to. You see, depending on your life experiences, this will determine the trials and tribulations that you go through. Whether it be growing up in a council estate or in a country residence, in a city living or out in the sticks, everyone goes through their own challenges. There will be times when you rely on wit, speed or strength to get you out of a situation, and some scenarios are more troubling than others, each with their own lesson to take away from it. As I reflected on what had just been said, the reality is I was embarrassed. Embarrassed that I didn't know this already. Embarrassed I was naive to how the world works. It seems painfully obvious now, but at the time it was a true lightning bolt. Life is a series of negotiations. The simplicity of the statement hammers home the meaning, and at every stage of life there will always be times when we need to negotiate. This could be with a loved one, a friend, a colleague, or an adversary. Regardless of the situation, knowing how to negotiate to achieve the outcome you want is a life skill worth learning. And that was my problem. I hadn't realised this yet. Yes, I have navigated the last 40 odd years reasonably well, but I can't hand on heart say that I have negotiated my way successfully. Had I given myself the best chance of success at times? Talking my way out of a scrap when young? determining the best approach with a friend, trying to achieve a successful decision in the boardroom. It's been a more lucky than good approach, and that is why I was embarrassed. But sitting there at that moment, I was grateful for having this pointed out to me, and in turn, my friendship with Simon. We'd only worked together for a short period of time, but it quickly became apparent that he is a true gentleman and one that conducted himself in a positive, professional and true to himself manner. Even though our career paths have diverged slightly, I was pleased that our friendship had emerged and led us to be sat in the sunshine in Dubai talking about life lessons. Within the blink of an eye, nearly 2 hours had passed and the sun was beginning to set, so it was time to head back to the apartment. So as we strolled back, my mind was abuzz with firing grey matter, and there are times when you just realise that you learn something new that literally blows your mind. And this was one for me. Understanding that there will always be a deal to be had. Whether you realise it or not, you will be negotiating for the rest of your life. This could be to secure a pay rise or to convince your young child to put their coat on before going out. Regardless, if you are not aware that this is happening, then you are on the back foot, and that is never a good place to be. If you like this video, I would highly recommend this video here where I talk about the 5 steps on how to negotiate like Harvey Specter from Suits. I think you'll find it super useful. But with that, have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.